Discipline is the foundation upon which success is built. It's the daily decisions, the small, consistent actions, and the relentless commitment to a goal that shapes our futures. While talent and opportunity play their roles, without discipline, even the most promising paths can lead nowhere. So, how do we cultivate this essential quality? Discipline isn't just about willpower. It's about developing the habits, systems, and mindset that allow you to stay on track, even when motivation fades. First, discipline begins with self-awareness. You can't change what you don't understand. Many people go through life unaware of their habits and routines. They react to circumstances, living day to day without a clear sense of where their time, energy, and focus are going. But discipline requires you to take control, to consciously direct your actions toward your goals. The first step to building discipline is becoming aware of how you spend your time and identifying where you may be falling short. Start by taking inventory of your daily habits. Write down everything you do for a week. Be honest and thorough. Include everything from the time you wake up to when you go to bed. This process is not about judgment, but about gaining clarity. Once you've mapped out your week, you'll likely notice patterns, areas where time is wasted, tasks that aren't moving you closer to your goals, and opportunities for improvement. Awareness is powerful because it gives you a starting point. You might realize you're spending hours each day on distractions like mindless entertainment. These moments may seem insignificant in isolation, but over the course of a week or month, they add up to a significant portion of time that could be better spent on activities that align with your goals. Recognizing these habits is the first step toward shifting them. Self-awareness allows you to see clearly where you're disciplined and where you're not, so you can begin making intentional changes. Next, start small. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to become more disciplined is attempting to overhaul their entire lives overnight. They set ambitious goals, try to change too much at once, and inevitably burn out. Discipline is not about radical change. It's about steady, incremental improvement. Think of discipline like a muscle. You wouldn't go into the gym for the first time and try to lift 300 pounds. You'd start with a weight that's challenging but manageable and gradually increase it over time. The same principle applies to discipline. If you're trying to build the habit of waking up early, don't start by setting your alarm 2 hours earlier than usual. Instead, wake up just 10 or 15 minutes earlier each day until you gradually adjust to the new routine. The key is to make the change small enough that it's sustainable, but consistent enough that it moves you forward. Over time, these small actions compound. Just as a small snowball rolling down a hill picks up speed and size, so too do the small disciplined actions you take each day. The cumulative effect of these small steps can lead to massive results over time. And as you build momentum, you'll find it easier to stay disciplined because your habits will start to reinforce themselves. Now, here's the challenge most people face. They rely on motivation. They wait for the moment when they feel like it. But here's the truth. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. If you rely on motivation alone, your discipline will waver. The real key to building discipline is to take action even when you don't feel like it. This is where those small steps are so important. When the task seems too big or overwhelming, break it down into something so small that you can do it no matter how you feel. If you're trying to build the habit of exercising regularly, but you're not feeling motivated, commit to doing just 5 minutes of exercise. 5 minutes seems easy enough, right? But once you start, you'll often find that you keep going. The hardest part is getting started. And if you truly only do 5 minutes, that's still a win. You're building the habit, strengthening your discipline muscle. Next, delay gratification. We live in a world that's obsessed with instant results. Everywhere you look, there's a promise of something quick and easy. Get rich quick schemes, lose weight fast diets, shortcuts to success. But here's the truth. Anything worth achieving takes time and effort. Discipline is the ability to forego short-term pleasure for long-term gain. Delayed gratification is about resisting the temptation to take the easy path in favor of the harder, more rewarding one. It's about choosing to stay in and work on your side business instead of going out with friends. It's about investing your money rather than spending it on things you don't need. It's about saying no to the immediate desire in favor of the bigger reward that comes from sticking to your long-term goals. In the 1970s, they conducted what became known as the marshmallow experiment. Children were given a choice. They could eat one marshmallow immediately or wait 15 minutes and receive 2 marshmallows. The researchers then followed these children for years and found that those who were able to delay gratification and wait for the second marshmallow were more successful in life. They had better health, higher test scores, and more successful careers. The lesson here is clear. Success doesn't come from immediate satisfaction. It comes from the ability to delay gratification and stay disciplined in the pursuit of your goals. When you choose the harder path, the path that requires patience, effort, and consistency, you're investing in your future self. Every time you delay gratification, you strengthen your discipline and increase your chances of long-term success. But delayed gratification isn't just about saying no to immediate pleasure. It's also about prioritizing what matters most. Discipline isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. Often we get caught up in busy work or tasks that don't actually move us closer to our goals. Discipline is about focus. It's about identifying the few key actions that will make the biggest difference in your life and committing to doing those things consistently. Think of it this way. If you try to chase 2 rabbits at the same time, you'll catch neither. The same is true in life. If you're trying to pursue too many goals at once, you'll spread your focus too thin, and you won't make meaningful progress on any of them. To build discipline, you need to get clear on your priorities. What are the few things that truly matter? What are the actions that will have the greatest impact on your success? Once you've identified your priorities, it's time to say no to everything else. This is where many people struggle. They want to do it all, but discipline requires you to make tough choices. You've got to eliminate the distractions, the unnecessary tasks, and the activities that don't align with your goals. This isn't easy, but it's necessary. The more focused you are, the more disciplined you'll become because your energy will be directed toward the things that truly matter. Next, you need to build a routine. Routines are the backbone of discipline. They take the guesswork out of your day and reduce the number of decisions you have to make. The fewer decisions you have to make, the less mental energy you use, and the easier it is to stay disciplined. Successful people aren't more disciplined because they have superhuman willpower. They're more disciplined because they've created systems and routines that make it easier to stay on track. Many successful people have a morning routine that sets the tone for their day. Whether it's exercising, journaling, or planning their day, These routines create structure and help them stay focused on their goals. Routines are powerful because they remove the need for constant decision-making. When you follow a routine, you don't have to think about what to do next. It's already planned. This reduces decision fatigue, which is the mental exhaustion that comes from making too many choices. By creating a routine, you free up your mental energy to focus on the things that matter most. So, how do you build a routine? Start by identifying the most important tasks you need to accomplish each day. These should be the tasks that have the greatest impact on your success. Once you've identified these tasks, schedule them into your day at the same time every day. Over time, these tasks will become habits, and discipline will no longer feel like a struggle. It will become automatic. The beauty of routines is that they create consistency. And consistency is the hallmark of discipline. It's not about being perfect every day. It's about showing up day in and day out, regardless of how you feel. When you create a routine that supports your goals, you eliminate the need for motivation or willpower. You simply follow the plan, and over time, the results will follow. As you build your routine, remember to be flexible. Life will inevitably throw challenges your way, and there will be days when things don't go as planned. The key is to get back on track as quickly as possible. Don't let one bad day turn into a bad week or a bad month. Discipline is about resilience. It's about bouncing back after setbacks and staying committed to your long-term goals. Building discipline is a lifelong journey. It's not something you achieve once and then forget about. It requires constant effort, self-reflection, and adjustment. But the rewards are worth it. When you master discipline, you gain control over your life. You become the architect of your future rather than a victim of circumstances. Discipline gives you the power to shape your destiny, to achieve your dreams, and to become the person you've always wanted to be. And it all starts with small daily actions. By becoming self-aware, starting small, delaying gratification, focusing on your priorities, and creating routines, you can build the discipline that will lead to lasting success. One of the most important lessons about discipline is that it's a skill that must be nurtured over time. Just like with any skill, the more you practice, the better you get at it. It's easy to be disciplined when everything is going smoothly, when you're in control, when you feel good, and when there are no distractions. But real discipline is tested when things get tough, when challenges arise, when you're tired, when setbacks occur. This is where the true strength of your discipline is revealed. I've often found that people tend to give up too soon. They hit a bump in the road, experience a bit of discomfort, and they abandon their plan. But I'm telling you, the road to success is not a straight line. There will be obstacles, distractions, and days when you feel like giving up. It's during these moments that you must dig deep and stay consistent. This is where discipline becomes your greatest ally. There's an old saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I believe that. Discipline is about pushing through, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about doing what needs to be done, not because you feel like it, but because it's necessary. This is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who don't. The disciplined person keeps going, no matter what. Now, here's something to remember. Discipline is built in the mundane. The day-to-day seemingly insignificant actions you take are what shape your future. Many people think discipline is about grand gestures or big moments of willpower. But that's not where discipline lives. Discipline is built in the little things, the decisions you make when no one is watching, the small sacrifices you make every day, and the commitment to doing the work even when it's boring or tedious. Here's where a lot of people get stuck. They lose patience. In our fast-paced world, everyone wants results right now. But discipline teaches us that true success takes time. It requires patience, persistence, and a long-term perspective. You have to be willing to put in the work today, knowing that the rewards may not come immediately. But rest assured, if you stay disciplined, the results will come. You must trust the process. Discipline is about having faith in the work you're putting in, even when you don't see immediate results. Sometimes you'll feel like your efforts are in vain, like you're spinning your wheels and not making progress. But trust me, every small disciplined action you take is building towards something greater. It may not be visible yet, but it's happening. Think about it like planting a tree. When you plant a seed, you don't see results right away. You water it, care for it, and wait. For a while, it seems like nothing is happening. But under the surface, roots are growing, and eventually, the tree begins to sprout. That's how discipline works. You have to trust that your efforts are laying the foundation, even when you can't see the progress. And one day, seemingly out of nowhere, the results will start to appear. And you've got to watch who you surround yourself with. Your environment plays a huge role in your ability to stay disciplined. If you're surrounded by people who don't share your goals or who aren't disciplined themselves, it's going to be much harder for you to stay on track. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who are focused, disciplined, and striving for success, you'll find it much easier to maintain your own discipline. Discipline is contagious. When you're around others who are pushing themselves, who are committed to their goals, it inspires you to do the same. Their energy, their habits, and their focus rub off on you. This is why it's so important to be intentional about the people you spend time with. If you want to be more disciplined, seek out those who are already living that way. Find mentors, friends, or colleagues who are disciplined in their own lives, and let their example guide you. I've always said then that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So ask yourself, who are you surrounding yourself with? Are they lifting you up, helping you stay disciplined, and encouraging you to reach your potential? Or are they pulling you down, distracting you, and leading you away from your goals? Be honest with yourself. If you want to build discipline, you need to be around people who will support that growth. Now, in addition to surrounding yourself with the right people, it's crucial to create an environment that fosters discipline. What do I mean by this? Well, think about your physical environment. Is it set up in a way that supports your goals, or is it full of distractions and temptations? If you're trying to eat healthier, but your kitchen is full of junk food, it's going to be a lot harder to stay disciplined. If you're trying to be more productive, but your workspace is cluttered and disorganized, your focus will suffer. One of the simplest ways to build discipline is by eliminating distractions and setting up your environment for success. This could mean cleaning up your workspace, putting your phone away during focused work time, or removing temptations that lead to procrastination. The goal is to create an environment where the disciplined choice is the easy choice. This idea also applies to your mental environment. Are you filling your mind with positive, inspiring content that motivates you to stay disciplined? Or are you consuming negativity, distractions, and information that doesn't serve your goals? Just as you should be intentional about the people you surround yourself with, you should also be intentional about the information you allow into your mind. Here's the truth. Discipline requires clarity. You need to be crystal clear about what you want to achieve and why it's important to you. Without this clarity, discipline will always be a struggle. When you have a strong enough why, discipline becomes easier because you're no longer relying on sheer willpower. You're driven by a deeper purpose. Think about your goals. Why do you want to achieve them? What's the bigger picture? It's not enough to say, I want to be successful, or I want to be healthier. You need to dig deeper. Why do you want to be successful? What will success allow you to do? How will it change your life? The clearer you are about your why, the stronger your discipline will be. Clarity provides direction. It gives you something to focus on when things get tough. When you're tired, when you're tempted to give up, or when distractions come your way, your clarity of purpose will keep you grounded. It reminds you why you started in the first place and what's at stake if you don't stay disciplined. This clarity is your anchor. One of the ways to maintain clarity is by setting clear, specific goals. Discipline thrives on direction, and your goals provide that direction. The more specific your goals are, the easier it will be to stay disciplined. Instead of saying, I want to get in shape, set a goal like, I want to run a 10K in 3 months. Instead of saying, I want to be more productive, set a goal like, I will write 500 words every day for the next 30 days. Specific goals give you something concrete to work toward. They create a roadmap for your discipline. When you know exactly what you're aiming for, it's easier to make the disciplined choices that will move you closer to that goal. You're not just working in the abstract, you're working with purpose. As you work toward your goals, it's also important to celebrate your progress along the way. Discipline doesn't mean you have to be rigid or harsh with yourself. In fact, one of the best ways to stay disciplined is by acknowledging and celebrating the small victories. Every time you make a disciplined choice, you're reinforcing the habit of discipline. And every time you reinforce that habit, you're moving closer to your goal. So don't wait until you've achieved the big goal to celebrate. Take time to acknowledge the small wins along the way. Did you wake up early today and stick to your routine? Celebrate that. Did you resist a temptation that would have derailed your progress? Celebrate that. These small celebrations keep you motivated and remind you that discipline is paying off, even if the results aren't immediately visible. Ultimately, discipline is about creating a life of purpose and intention. It's about taking control of your actions and decisions rather than letting life happen to you. When you build discipline, you gain the power to shape your future. You become the author of your own story. And while the journey may not always be easy, the rewards are immense. Discipline allows you to achieve your goals, create lasting change, and become the person you've always wanted to be. It's not something that happens overnight, but with time, effort, and consistency, it can become one of the most powerful tools in your life. Next, hold yourself accountable. Accountability is one of the most powerful tools for staying on track because it forces you to own your decisions and actions. When you make a commitment to yourself and others, it increases the pressure to follow through. It's easy to let yourself off the hook when no one else knows about your goals or your commitments. But when someone else is involved, the stakes become higher. Accountability can take many forms. It could be as simple as telling a friend or family member about your goals and asking them to check in on your progress. Or it could be joining a group of like-minded people who are also working toward their own goals. The key here is to create a system where you are regularly reporting your progress to someone else. Early in my career, when I was trying to build better financial habits, I set a goal to save a specific percentage of my income each month. I knew that if I didn't have someone holding me accountable, I might be tempted to slack off, spend a little extra here or there, and convince myself that I would make up for it later. So I partnered with a colleague who was also trying to improve his financial discipline. And we agreed to check in with each other at the end of every month. Knowing that I had to report my progress to someone else kept me on track, and it became much easier to stay disciplined with my spending and savings goals. Here's the thing. Accountability doesn't just apply to financial goals. It works for everything. Whether you're trying to get in shape, build a business, or develop a new skill. When you share your goals with others and invite them to hold you accountable, you're creating a structure that supports discipline. You're adding an external layer of motivation, which can be especially helpful when your internal motivation is running low. But accountability isn't just about involving others. It's also about being accountable to yourself. You've got to become your own best coach. That means setting clear expectations for yourself and following through, even when no one else is watching. It's easy to let yourself off the hook with excuses like, I'll do it tomorrow, or it doesn't really matter. But discipline requires you to hold yourself to a higher standard. You have to be honest with yourself about your progress, your efforts, and your setbacks. One of the best ways to stay accountable to yourself is to track your progress. When you write down what you've done each day, you create a record of your discipline. And when you see that record grow over time, it builds momentum. You start to feel proud of the progress you've made. And that feeling reinforces the habit of discipline. Next, manage your emotions. A lot of people think that discipline is purely about action, about doing the work, sticking to the routine, and making the right choices. And that's true, but there's another layer to it. Discipline also requires emotional management. Because, let's face it, our emotions can often get in the way of our best intentions. Think about it. How many times have you set a goal, gotten off to a strong start, and then suddenly hit a wall because you didn't feel like continuing? Maybe you got frustrated, discouraged, or bored. Or maybe life threw an unexpected challenge your way, and you felt overwhelmed. These emotional roadblocks are a natural part of the process, and everyone faces them. But the key to discipline is learning how to manage those emotions so that they don't derail your progress. Let me be clear. Discipline doesn't mean ignoring your emotions or pretending that you don't feel frustrated or tired or stressed. That's not realistic. What it does mean is learning how to keep your emotions in check so that they don't control your actions. This requires a level of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. You've got to be able to recognize when you're feeling discouraged or overwhelmed and have strategies in place to deal with those emotions in a productive way. One strategy that works well is reframing your mindset. When you hit a tough spot and your emotions start to take over, it's easy to focus on the negative, on how hard it is, how tired you are, or how far you still have to go. But if you can reframe your thoughts and focus on the positive aspects of the situation, it becomes easier to push through. Instead of thinking, this is too hard, or I'll never make it, try shifting your mindset to something like, this is a challenge, but I'm getting stronger because of it. Or, every step I take brings me closer to my goal. It's amazing how much power our thoughts have over our emotions. When you change the way you think about a situation, you change the way you feel about it. And when you change the way you feel, it becomes easier to stay disciplined. Another powerful way to manage your emotions is to be grateful for what you have. When you're in the thick of a challenge, it's easy to focus on everything that's going wrong. But being grateful shifts your focus to what's going right. It reminds you of the progress you've made, the opportunities you have, and the lessons you're learning along the way. Being grateful helps you stay positive even when things get tough, and that positivity fuels your discipline. So, at the end of each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. These can be big things like hitting a major milestone, or small things like having the energy to complete your daily tasks. The point is to train your mind to focus on the positives. Over time, this will help you manage your emotions more effectively, and in turn, it will strengthen your discipline. Next, you must embrace failure as part of the process. Too often, people think that discipline is about being perfect, about never slipping up, never missing a workout, never giving in to temptation. But the truth is, discipline isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about getting back on track after a setback and continuing to move forward, even when you've made mistakes. Failure is a natural part of the journey. No one is disciplined 100% of the time. We all have moments where we fall short, where we give in to distractions, or where we just don't follow through. The key is not to let those moments derail you completely. When you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up. Don't throw in the towel. Instead, use it as a learning opportunity. Ask yourself, what went wrong? Why did I slip up? And how can I prevent this from happening again? This mindset shift is critical because it takes the fear out of failure. When you see failure as part of the process, it becomes less intimidating. You no longer feel like you have to be perfect to succeed. You understand that every mistake is just a stepping stone on the path to success. And the more you embrace failure, the more resilient you become. I've seen so many people give up on their goals after a single setback. They miss one day of their routine, and suddenly they convince themselves that they've failed. But here's the truth. Missing one day doesn't define your success. It's what you do the next day that matters. Discipline is about consistency over time, not about being flawless. If you stumble, get back up and keep going. The most disciplined people are not the ones who never fail. They're the ones who refuse to quit. So, how do you embrace failure as part of the process? Start by shifting your mindset. Instead of seeing failure as something to be feared, see it as something to be learned from. Each failure is an opportunity to grow, to improve, and to become more disciplined. And when you view failure this way, it loses its power over you. You stop fearing it, and you start using it to fuel your progress. Now take a moment to think about the ways in which failure has played a role in your own journey. Maybe there were times when you set a goal, but you didn't follow through. Maybe you tried to build a new habit, but it didn't stick. Instead of seeing these moments as defeats, reframe them as valuable learning experiences. Ask yourself what you can learn from them and how you can apply those lessons moving forward. In the end, discipline is about the long game. It's not about achieving short-term perfection. It's about developing the habits, mindset, and resilience that allow you to stay on track over the long haul. Every small, disciplined action you take brings you closer to your goals, even when the progress isn't immediately visible. And every time you pick yourself up after a setback, you're building the kind of discipline that will carry you through the toughest challenges. So these are the keys to building lasting discipline. And with each passing day, as you practice these principles, you'll find that discipline becomes not just something you do, but something you are. It will become a part of your character, shaping every decision you make and every goal you pursue.